Hello and welcome to the Workouts for Older Men podcast. I am Skip LaCour, and I'm so glad you are joining me for this podcast episode. Today, I want to talk about form, proper form that effectively and efficiently builds muscle. Form, what am I talking about? How you move the weight when you're doing those repetitions, whether it's a bench press with a bar, whether it's an incline dumbbell bench press, whether it's a row for your back with a machine or a row with your back with a barbell or a dumbbell. How do you execute the exercise to stimulate the targeted muscle group? What is your form? How effectively are you doing it? How precise are you doing it? All right, let me just tell you right now. What I'm going to tell you about is a next level strategy. To me, it makes total sense because when I applied what I'm telling you, I achieved all the benefits, and I didn't suffer any of the supposed downside negative consequences, the cons of how I approached form. All right, so it makes total sense to me, but I totally understand what you hear I'll talk about. I know what you hear. I know it's counterintuitive. Here's the thing. I'm not putting any pressure. I'm not going to say you're doing it wrong if you don't. Look at form the way I am suggesting that you do so you can take it to the next level, right? You can continue doing what you can keep your beliefs about form just the way you are. If you're consistent, you're pushing yourself, you're doing progressive overload, all right, you're going to do great. Now, could you take it to the next level? Can you take it to that next level and do it maybe bigger gains and less time in the gym, like a lot of older men with busy, productive lives do? Yes, you could, but you gotta believe and you gotta take down this journey. And I know it's counterintuitive. So look, I know, trust me, I've been on the internet since it began, right? I found a way to post videos of my workouts. Before it was so easy, just have an awesome phone with a awesome video quality, and 2 seconds later, boom, it's all over the internet, super quality. So way before that, where you have to be really determined to get that video up on the internet, right? So for all this time, I know what the traditional way of thinking is. I know what makes sense to most people. I know the safe thing from an influencer's point of view of what to say and what criticism if they even deviate from that. Right? So I know it from all different angles. That just use good form. If you don't use good form, you're not going to get any muscle gains. Right? Good form is paramount, man. I have that parroted, right? Forget about the fitness influencers who talk about that over and over again. Every single person who's willing to comment on social media, form. It's the most important thing. No muscle gains without good form. All right, so look, what is good form? It's interesting, someone who, I've seen this, right, an influencer who preaches good form, and they might criticize maybe what other people do. They may not criticize anybody specifically, but they'll say, oh, do not do your bench press this way, twist your elbow this way, or whatever. You're not using good forms, right? And then they get criticized for their form because form is subjective. How strict can it be? How precise can it be? Oh, that's not precise. Your head moved a little. You lifted your heel up a little bit. There was a little bit too much rocking, right? Uh-oh. I know that doesn't look right. Okay, I get it. Right? But I want you to consider this analogy that I'm giving you, right? Now, if I talk about how many reps you should do in a set, right? I tell you, to get the most impact, you got to have a rep range. What I mean for that is many men, very smart older men who look good, right? They'll just shoot for 10 reps. Just 10 reps. Okay? And so they use a certain amount of weight. I think that, most people think that weight is somewhat important. It's not paramount, but you can't use a feather for 10 reps, okay, versus a 50-pound dumbbell for 10 reps. So obviously, if you use a 100-pound dumbbell versus a 50-pound dumbbell versus a feather, you're still lifting weight. Weight does matter when you're doing those 10 reps, all right? So they lock on to 10 reps, right? So having the confidence to push more of the weight in those 10 reps, I mean, I think most people, that would benefit you, right? Okay, if you can do more weight with those 10 reps, you use good forms, you stimulate, the muscle, right? Eventually, if you can maybe do more reps or more weight with that reps, that would be better than what you are right now, okay? Don't get too much of an argument about that, right? Well, what if you were going to, in your workout, you had 4 sets of 10 reps and you shot for 10 reps, not 8, 9, or 10 reps, just 10 reps. And that was your style, right? All right. And what if you could progress from 50 pounds to 55 pounds and you made a rule that you could not go up in weight until you got 4 sets, and every one of them you got to 10, because that's the goal. You go 4 for 4, get 10 reps with that weight before you allow yourself to try heavier weight. Now, maybe not to you, but to a lot of people that would make sense. Why would you graduate up when your goal is to hit, 10 in all 4 sets? When you can do 10 on all 4, you can do that consistently, then you move up in weight. Right? That seems like it makes sense. But isn't it true that what if you you decided to go up in weight sooner, right? And the other person had, I got to get at least one of these 4, I got to get 10 reps. All right, at least one of the 4, I got to get 10 reps. So the first one, they may get 10 reps with 55 pounds, right? And then they allow themselves to get 7 or 8 or 9 for the other 3. And if that was the requirement that they set in their head, and then they can go up to 60 pounds, right? So they're going to push themselves more. They'll skip the formality of waiting to this predetermined 4 sets at 10 reps before they went up. And I'm telling you, in a year's time, I mean, the person who, in that second scenario, they would go up so much more in weight, even if they didn't perform as much weight, as many reps, than the person who waited till all 4 were 10, were 10 reps. Okay, and again, doing it safely, don't use so much weight, don't progress where you're going to hurt yourself, right? There's going to be more muscle stimulated by the second one, just because of how they set up the game in the head, what the rules are, what the rules aren't, more liberal with the rules, and they'll push themselves more. And look, if you think that the person, because they jumped up in weight and didn't get quite 10 reps, that they're going to fall so much shorter than the person who decided it made sense to wait to do all 10. That's just not how it works, all right? So what does that have to do with form? You're not talking about rep skip. I want to hear more about the whole rep range thing, but you're talking about form. Well, here's the thing. What if you, use for whatever exercise, incline dumbbell bench presses, right? And you were shooting, let's just say that 10 reps thing again, not 8 to 10 reps, 10 reps. All right? And now, instead of I can't go up and wait to stimulate it until I can do all 4 sets at 10, now, in this scenario, until all 10 reps in all 4 sets have perfect form, man, don't go up in weight. As a matter of fact, if you can't do all 10 with if you have a little bit of body language, safe, but that's not right, then perfect, don't go up. Don't try more until you have perfect form on all 10 reps on all 4 sets. Right? Let me tell you something. The body, sometimes this is your mind. You want to go up in weight. You're challenging yourself. Right? It's that challenge yourself. Sometimes it's mental. It's not what you could physically do. Secondly, it could be a physical thing, but not that you're not strong. It's just you're not coordinated to move the dumbbell or whatever in that matter. Right? But if you gave yourself the opportunity to use heavier weight, get mentally ready, emotionally ready, and then get the coordination down, who knows? If you allowed yourself to be not quite so perfect, don't hurt yourself, okay? But maybe the last 2, it's okay. if you kind of slip on the form a little. Don't hurt yourself, right? See, if people see videos of that, all right. Oh, ego lifting. Look at the last 3 reps. He moved a little bit of body language, right? Body English. Oh, just throw away all the 7 ones and get 0 production out of the last 3. Terrible set, bad form, terrible, terrible, terrible. That's how it gets labeled. Like there was no benefit out of the 7 that were good form with that weight. And then as you're going for heavier weight, you did 3. And like I said, maybe they aren't perfect form, right? But they hit the muscle group and he did more weight. What if you allowed yourself not to be perfect all the way through? Again, if it's so heavy you do the first rep and you're swinging around, then that's not good. But what if, in your rep range or whatever, if it's 10 reps, what if you get 6 of them? How about 8 of them? What rules are you creating that they have to be perfect before you go up in weight? Because I'm going to tell you, just like the analogy I've said with reps, right? If you allow yourself to be a little bit imperfect, again, don't hurt yourself. Right? Maybe a little body English, a little self-spotting, as I call it. There's a lot of train of thought that there's no difference in how you stimulate the muscle. Forget about what it looks like to the influencer or the people watching your video. There's no difference in muscle stimulation, and you're not going to get hurt. Again, 7 perfect, last 3. You challenge yourself a little bit of body language. Oh, got to go down and weight. Oh, that's not going to work. You could say, okay, who knows the next week? Hell, who knows the next workout? Certainly next month. If you didn't say bad, 3 of the 10 weren't perfect form, I rocked my body a little, right? And it was okay in those rules. Man, I'll tell you, a month from now, you're going to do all 10 of them with perfect form, right? And then you're going to have the confidence and you're going to creep up. And then guess what? You go up again. You go now, you're at 55 pounds. You're up to 60 pounds or whatever. And then you start that process over again, not expecting to be perfect form on all 10. Maybe 6 to begin with, maybe 7. Make sure you're progressing. Make sure it doesn't bury yourself. All right? For what we're doing, you're going to get stronger, faster. You're going to go on the journey. You're going to see what you're capable of. You're not going to hurt yourself if you're careful about it. I'm not talking about horrible form from the first rep, but not all 10. Right? These are just rules that people create. All right? And I'll just tell you, doing this, I don't care. I've been on the internet so much. I try to talk about this point to get them to try it so they can go up the ladder, see how strong they can be, not put themselves in this cage because of form. Right? And I know what people are going to say on the internet. I understand. Right? It just seems, form. You got to use perfect form. You got to use perfect form. And I'll tell you, most of these younger fitness influencers, it's one of 2 things. They'll talk about how form has to be perfect because that's what you want to hear. And it's so easy to go to that imaginary person who's such an a-hole, who's so terrible, who's an ego lifter, because everybody can rally against that horrible person in the gym, a horrible example. I don't see all these ego lifters. I don't see all these people lifting all this weight getting hurt. I'm in a gym all the time. But again, we have this, nemesis of what we don't want to be, and those people are bad. So you can come back to this form thing. All right? How can you argue with it? It makes so much sense. Right? And so, it's kind of like, around with this Joey Swole and, he's scouring all over the internet and people are sending it to him probably, giving the heads up about, the one idiot, the several idiots, whatever, who film somebody or do something inappropriate in the gym. He's made a whole brand out of that. I mean, man, I don't see all these people in a gym. I'm not saying they're not there and it's maybe a good lesson, but maybe your whole brand about it makes everybody think that there's a whole bunch of idiots in the gym, and that goes on all over the place. And if you want to see that, you'll see that, right? And I just think that there's a lot of influencers that make a brand out of the form. They're the form Nazi, the form. And you know what? The masses will buy into it because it makes so much sense to someone who doesn't understand the things that I'm telling you. I haven't gone on the journey and felt all the things that I'm telling you. I get it. Totally get it, right? it's so much so, it's easier just not to deal with it. Why would you make a video kind of talking about form when you know what the masses think, you know what the NPCs think about form? They're just going to not like your video. It's going to make them question your credibility. They're not going to think deeply in it. All right? So maybe you've heard this before. Maybe I said it in a different way. Look, I've benefited from the gains. Hopefully I explain it for you. I'm not afraid to tell you how it really works. All right, but that's how you get more work done in more time. You got to go on that journey. All right? What rules did you create? Or what were they created for you by a 22-year-old influencer who's afraid to get criticized, or he's made a brand and is saying, "Oh, everybody does it wrong with those ego lifters. Don't be like ego lifters." I don't want to be one of those. Oh, yeah. It just makes so much sense to go along with the thing. All right, so that's going to do it for this Workouts for Old Men podcast. Hey, reach out. One-on-one coaching. I have many ways to help you. If you like this, you need some accountability, instruction, personalized instructions. Maybe you get some of the stuff that I'm saying. Maybe some of it is like, whoa, this is totally new. I got to speed up the process. Let me help you. Reach out for some one-on-one coaching. We'll talk about it. We'll see what the right program is for you. Who knows? Maybe you don't need one-on-one coaching. I want to make sure we're a good fit. No problem talking to you about it. All right, so let's take on the day with a sense of urgency. We have to when we're a little bit older. We've got more time behind us than we do in front of us. Have a great day.